and then I happened to meet Nancy and then Bhavani at KCD Hyderabad, I believe.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I've always been a little passionate about contributing to communities and everything in general. I think this is the first community I've joined, and I'm so glad I've joined. I did get a lot of opportunities from here, and yes, sorry, I won't be able to make it to KubeCon. I'll probably meet you at another KubeCon.
No, I mean nothing to sorry about. I mean cube cons are hard in any that could be a different call on its own on how KubeCon is becoming harder and harder every passing year now. Uh, yeah, but it was India, so I was just assuming like, are we meeting maybe on during KubeCon or I also remember Bhavani you discussing co-located events before
Yeah.
that in the ambassadors channel. So if that is happening, but let's see. Yeah. There
And
were a lot
also,
of
just a small shout out to Anushka. I think her CFP got accepted. I think she's speaking at KubeCon India. So, congratulations, Anushka. Good luck with your talk.
Hey,
hey, congratulations, Anushka.
congrats. And yeah, thank you, Yuvan, for joining us today as well. So he has been a kind of constant person, I know, who has been following us from day one, actually, for this Navratri series. Yeah.
I'll
I
wait
think
for the signal whenever you want me to get started.
I
I'll
think
start.
Okay,
Amol, we can get started. We are probably running out of time. Like, yeah, we can get started now. Yeah.
Okay. Uh,
is the recordings,
Yeah, it's
is the
recording.
recording
I
on?
have started recording. Yeah.
Okay. I think almost everybody you've joined except Ivan. Hi, Ivan. Almost everybody is introduced, and I think everybody has seen Priyanka for a couple of minutes now. So I would not want to do a very formal discussion, but I think I would just like to give a small heads up about this initiative that Bhavani has taken up. And also, Ram, also thank you, Ram. So this whole Navratri, the reason for doing this nine workshop is basically uh, because Navratri symbolizes the feminine energy, the goddess. So it's a very cool initiative in the first place. It's to have nine women speakers who will actually teach about different concepts from the CNCF ecosystem. And uh, and thank you, Bhavani, for pulling this off. This is a huge project. And today we have the last session. We have also saved the best one for the last. That's how I believe. So we have Priyanka, who will actually talk about the PyTest containers. So I happen to go through your work, Priyanka. It's very, very impressive. You've actually got some good experience. But before we actually dive into the session, could you actually tell us a bit more about the kind of work that you do on the daily basis, and also maybe one fun fact about you, and we can
yeah.
take it up from there.
Um, Perfect. Thank you, Amuga, uh, for segueing me into this. um, First of all, I'll start by my name. My name is Priyanka Sagu. I work at SUSE as a Kubernetes integration engineer in the business critical Linux department, which is the SUSE enterprise Linux department. I am a Kubernetes person, but why mentioned the BCL because I'm not from Rancher. When we talk about SUSE Rancher, it's Ran SUSE Kubernetes, it's mostly Rancher, but I'm from the Linux department. I am currently very involved in the Kubernetes upstream project in a few ways. I am the technical lead for Kubernetes Special Interest Group contributor experience. I'm also one of the sub project leads there, a sub project called GitHub Admin, which is basically doing all the ops around all the Kubernetes GitHub organizations we have, which also includes etcd now. um, I was the release lead for Kubernetes 129, which is a year long, like a year back thing now, but it will be the first anniversary in December. So I still find it as a recent thing. And I was also the emeritus advisor for Kubernetes 131, which is the current latest Kubernetes version. We are in prep for 132 now. The latest one is 131. That's what I do at Kubernetes. I am also currently working on a few KIPs, uh, which is in process and making. That will be me trying to get into SIG node and SIG API machinery areas as well. So that is for me right now my learning phase. Um, yeah, that's about me. Fun fact about me, I have this time. Usually I don't have. Not a fun fact, but a fun thing or a very interesting thing I've been doing recently is going through maps. I sit with my mentor and we spend hours and hours going through map, tracking historical old places on map, what they look like today, for example, on map, or tracking routes of old historians, for example, how Christopher Columbus, what was the route actually he took on the map? Because the way we read those stories, usually they talk about the old names of the places or the old name of the different ports. So I'm trying to learn or brush up my geography skills with reading maps nowadays. Um, I am also trying to learn about the empire history, the British Empire, not just in context of India, but the entire empire. So yeah. And if you want to chat about that, I can off the line. Um, I can just babble a lot about that.
Hmm.
That's very recent. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for introducing yourself. And I see you're very technically hands-on and technically sound, and also the most least fashionable or the least celebrated kind of hobby you have about tracing routes and actually knowing about the history. It's a good thing. You can actually you can post about it more often on your socials, so people might actually be interested to learn it from you. And I would like to hand it over to you so you can go ahead and yeah, we can start your talk. Let me know if you're able to share.
Yep. Yep. Just give me a minute. I will start my screen share. I'm just moving stuff off my screen. Okay.
Okay, sure.
Uh, I have a very small slide deck today. Um, this is also because today is a festival, and I just want to have a very crisp talk with a few examples, but useful examples, and then leave the rest to the a lot of resources that I can maybe plug in later for people who want to uh, learn about pytest container in detail later on. So before I get started, just a disclaimer: pytest container is not a CNCF project. It's a it's a project created by one of my colleagues, and it's a very independent one-person project at the moment. So a great shout out to Dan Charamak, who is the creator of this project called pytest container. Um, and I was to uh, talk about who I am as part of my slide, but that's already covered. But one thing, if you want to reach out to me on Kubernetes Slack or CNCF Slack, that's my handle, psagu. I'll be very happy to chat and maybe talk about pytest container if anyone wants to learn about that or discuss that after this slide presentation. So let's right away get into the topic. What is pytest container? PyTest container is a PyTest plugin. What is PyTest? Before we get into anything else, PyTest is a Python testing framework. So this is a plugin to that PyTest testing framework, which is written in Python programming language. For this talk, I assume that you just know, you are aware of what is PyTest. There is for just following along with the examples that I'm going to discuss in this talk, there is no real requirement to understand uh, what is the framework look like, what is syntax, semantics in that framework. No such knowledge is required. But if you want to go ahead and integrate pytest container plugin, having a primer of pytest framework would be good. So pytest container, again, it's a pytest plugin, a plugin for the framework. And this software, this plugin is specifically developed to test container images. So the container images, when I say, I mean the container images we develop. So the Docker files or container files that we create and all the stuff that goes into those container file uh, test those built container images. That is what pytest container is uh, for checking the health of the container created from those container files, or running tests on the software that it is packaging, or running smoke tests, any sort of smoke tests that you want to run. And how it does it, how it helps us to test container images is via pytest fixtures. That's one of the features of PyTest testing frameworks. But since I said we do not require PyTest uh, knowledge for following this presentation, so I'll leave that. This snippet that's on my screen is entirely uh, from the documentation, which is linked at the bottom. It's word by word copied from there. And test infra is another um, PyTest plugin that is for creating the infrastructure that is required for running these tests, running the container images, a test against the container images. So building containers, pulling images, and then cleaning up everything once the tests are done. So that is taken care by this entity called test infra here. So what it does, that is of significance to us here. So using this plugin, what we can do is take care of, automate everything that we don't want to do over and over again. Like if I want to test something in a container image, I do not want to keep spinning up the containers over and over again. So this pytest container plugin will take care of that. It will automate that. It will also find free ports. That is one of the biggest pain everyone have when we are exposing, or our container images are exposing a few ports, and uh, now find out whether, or maybe like on our host machine the same port is already used by some other service. So finding out free ports, making sure it's not being used by any other services, all that painful task is taken care by pytest container plugin itself. And finally, we do not, if we are running this test against our images maybe 10 times, 20, 100 times in maybe CI/CD pipelines, um, we do not want to go and clean each of those instances of container image run by hand. That's again one of the uh, ops tasks, but it's a time taking task, not really necessary that we have to do it by hand. So that is also taken care by pytest container. These are some of the major things that pytest container does, but it does more, which is this list here. So briefly going through, the list that is here is what we are going to follow along in a demo, in a very short demo. But I will just walk through all the points that are listed here. It takes care of pulling the images. So if you are giving a registry link, for example, you are giving docker.io/nginx, or just giving nginx or something like that, just giving a path to your docker container image, not docker, any container image. um, it will pull it, it will launch the container using that container image, and then eventually stop the container as well once you are done with your testing. It can also create or build containers using a docker file. So you really do not have to give links to the pre-built images that are out there on registries. um, we will see this in the demo, that we are just giving very few very small basic, or it could be a complex docker file. So you can write your docker file with all the steps, all the instructions in there, and it can take that docker file and build containers out of that and do the rest for you. It also waits for the containers to become healthy before executing tests. So one of the features pytest container have inbuilt is it will take the source, the registry, or the docker file that we will provide it as a source, and try to create a container out of it. But it will not run any tests on it before the container gets healthy. So it will wait for the containers to become healthy, and we can create our own health checkpoints, or it will try to check by the entry point or the last command whether it is really healthy or not. This we already have discussed. The next one, bind expose container ports to free ports on the host. Again, uh, it will we just have to say this port needs to be exposed 80 80 80 anything, and it will bind to whatever available port on your host, which is not being used by any other entity or services. We can also use pytest container in cases where our Docker file require mounting volumes from host. For example, we have some, let's say we take an example of a static site generator, and we have the content directory on our machine. All we need to do via the Docker, the container, is just take the content that is already existing on our host directory. We mount that directory, and container does the rest. So we can use pytest container to mount those directly in our test environment as well. um, so that's another feature. And then the final two, build dependent container images in the correct order and run the same tests on as many container images as necessary. Sometimes we have, like for example, we are talking about a container that if we have to test whether this container works correctly, perfectly, we need to assume that more services externally are available. So that is external to the container. PyTest container allows us to create different containers, different test environment containers in order, and we can use those test container, those dummy containers, to just uh, smoke test our required PyTest container, required container, workload container using this PyTest container plugin. PyTest container takes care of running all of those in order. uh, we can say this needs to be this container which runs a nginx server needs to be available before I have this another container that's going to access that. So we can define those containers in order using this pytest container plugin, and it will take care of that, running those in correct order. And finally, we can run the same test on as many container images as necessary. Sometimes we have container images of various forms. For example, one container image is for, like, let's say, um, it's a minimal container image. One is a very loaded container image. It comes with its own fully loaded operating system. Maybe there we have art specific container images which have absolutely everything same across container images but different arts. They are made for, they are created for different architectures. So we can run the same containers. We just have to give the list of container images and ask pytest container, like, okay, here we have 5 container images, run the same set of tests against all 5 of them. So pytest container does all of that. Other than these, it also allows running tests in parallel. That is out of the scope of this talk, but very nicely covered in the documentation itself. And I'll also mention another resource at the end of this talk that can give you a hell lot of examples of pytest container in use across various application container workloads images. So with that, I have a short demo. Uh, but before I pull the demo out, I want to pull up the documentation because what I am doing in the demo is mostly following the documentation itself. So what I'm following there, this is what we discussed just now. This whole section was from the documentation itself, and there is a good tutorial. There is a very handy tutorial. It's easy to follow, available on the documentation itself. That is exactly what I have done on my machine. So I have a VM with me. Um, Following this documentation, what I've done is I've initiated a project using Poetry, and all I run is Poetry in it. And what it gave me, is this a py file. Uh, Not really, poetry is not really needed here, but all we are doing with poetry here is to install all these Python modules that are needed for, let's say, this demo in a virtual Python virtual environment, so we don't mess up with our machine. So all I did to get this whole set of stuff here is running poetry in it, and created this tree for me. What it created is this pyproject.toml file, and which most of it was ready and filled by um, poetry in it prompts itself, except this thing, which is what we are going to do with the next two commands here. So all I did was run, first of all, this command, poetry add group dev pytest container, which it created the section here and installed pytest container for me, a specific version of that, a pinned version of that. All we did is just, so far what we have done is installed pytest container on the machine. And I mentioned that pytest container also allows executing tests in parallel. We are not going to demo that, but I just ran in that command as well, and it made the pytest xdist module also available on my machine. So I think this much is good enough for following from the documentation, because a rest is a bit tricky, and I can use maybe simple examples to show stuff. So what I've done here is I've created a directory called test, and that is going to be the directory where we are going to place our tests. And most of the stuff has come from poetry in it itself, but this is the file that I have created, and we are going to use this to follow along. So, like I said, PyTest container is a PyTest framework, testing framework plugin. So we definitely need PyTest for us to demo this, uh, demo the application here. So I have just imported all of these first to five lines are just import commands. So the first thing is just PyTest framework itself, and then we are not importing the entire PyTest container library or the module plugin itself, because it has a lot of different things. For the sake of showing exactly what feature of PyTest container we are using below, I am importing parts of it that are needed. So the first thing that I think I am importing is these two things. First thing I'm importing is a function called container, or a class called container, and that is what we are going to use to create a container in our test. And another thing that we are importing here is container data. This container data is a fixture that it knows by itself what when we create this container uh, using this container class, container data starts to see that container, and uh, maybe start capturing a lot of metadata that are needed for interacting with the container using the at the runtime and the test runtime. So these are just the import for now. For starting, we are just importing these two, and the next thing I'm doing is just giving it a very simple um, container image here. So tumbleweed is a open SUSE tumbleweed operating system image. So it's a very minimal open source tumbleweed operating system image, and uh, it's like Ubuntu, for example. So all I'm doing is just doing, for example, podman run um, registry.opensuse.org/opensuse/tumbleweed latest, or docker run the same, and that is, this command is equivalent to that. So I'm using the container class and giving it a URL of the registry from where it has to fetch the container image. And we, like I said, we imported this container data. That one of the things that this container data understand is this uh, variable called container images, which is a list of all the container images that we are going to run our tests on. So this is a known variable name by the pytest container plugin. We what we are doing is just initializing that, just assigning our list of containers. So far we just have one container called tumbleweed. We are creating a list, assigning, adding one container tumbleweed to that list and assigning it to the container images variable. So far we just did that, and with this much we are going to check, since I said this is a operating system image, we are going to check whether operating this etc os release, this file actually exists or not. That is, for example, I have this, I'm already, my host machine is also a tumbleweed machine. So if I cat in etc os release, this is what I get. So we can actually try to see if we are actually on, uh, we'll see. So first, let's check whether etc os release, this file exists or not. So this is the only test we have right now. All we are doing here is creating a container image, creating a container using this container image registry.opensusa.org slash opensusa tumbleweed latest, and running a test to check whether the etc os release file exists or not. How I will run this test is, I can do it here for, wait. Okay, so all I'm doing is, poetry will make sure it makes all the modules that we installed, the pytest container module. If we were running uh, basically all this, so test infra we got, pytest test infra we got because pytest container comes with that. Uh, so we got test infra plugin, uh, pytest container plugin, and xtest plugin, and these are in the Python virtual environment. So we ran it with poetry. That what it found was a single test, because so far, if I but the file, we just have one test which is called test etc os release, and we are checking whether this file exists or not. And this, it created the container, checked there was one file or not. Uh, it picked up the test from here and checked whether this file. Now when it runs, uh, in a successful state, we do not really get much information. So that requires a lot of configuring, or like configuring our test pipeline, so that we also start um, printing a lot of other information as well, like which test is running against which image is running. I will, that that takes a little bit of work, so I have not included that in this demo. But we can see whether it is collecting logs or not by checking whether, in like in case where the test, let's say, fails. So I will edit the file, and let's say we check whether we make a typo in this file, and we don't expect this file to exist, so we'll rerun the test. And in this case it will capture the entire run of this test and give us what really happened, and why the test failed. So it will give us a trace back of the entire test. So here we can see everything that it was doing. So first thing it was doing, the container data that that fixture started collecting, the metadata that we have provided. We provided it image URL, which is registry opensusa.org slash open, basically this mouthful of container image URL. It created a container with that. So we can see a container ID associated with it. Because we in my machine I have Podman container runtime running on it. It's using Podman. There it also works with Docker. So if I don't have Podman and only Docker on my machine, it will use Docker. And now here it's telling us where the test failed. So it is saying it failed at this assertion. It was trying to find out this file, but the assertion failed. um, mm, the assertion, mm, if it worked, it was supposed to be true, but we got a false. And basically more information about why it failed. And then everything else also we can see that it captured as part of the standard error output. So let's go back and fix it and see what else we can do with it. So I was trying a few example before creating this demo, but I ran out of time. And so I decided to use a very simple example for this demo. What we will do is uh, let's say this image, this is the operating system image, but let's assume that uh, since because this is a container image, it does not, even though it has the entire package repository in it, but it does not install all the packages because it's a container image. It is supposed to be small. So we have to install a few packages uh, to do some stuff. So in this case, I'm going to um, extend my container, this container, tumbleweed container. Uh, and the only extension I'm doing is I'm installing two packages on this container. So I'm installing a curl command, and I'm also installing a busybox net tool. This is going to give me some network tools. We will be using that to see a few things later. Um, and I will now also uncomment these two imports as well. Why? Because now what we are going to do is we created a container entirely from uh, a URL or an existing container. Now we are going to extend it, so a new container will be derived from this container. So this is actually demoing the part where we are creating two containers. We are going to create them in sequence because we need it that way. So here what I'm doing is I'm creating a new container called tumbleweed with package. The same container but with some packages this time, and this is derived from this container. So what I'll say is the base is this container tw, and what what is the extension currently is nothing but this part here. Just install these two packages. So all I'll do is give it the container file here with the steps, with the instructions that I need to extend that container for my testing purposes. So I added that part for now, that much. And one thing, like I mentioned before, this container images variable, this is important for pytest plugin to uh, pytest plugin looks at this variable to find out which is a list of, or which are the list of containers it has to run some tests against. So in this case, we will be updating that tw list with tw with package. So I will for now comment this and just update this with that. And we can also, since we installed curl, we can try asserting whether curl is present or not. I can also assert maybe another assertion here to check whether netstat is present, because that is what I was trying to install via the net tools above. So I will just say netstat. Uh, well, So let's do. I don't know what is the output of netstat version. So let's expect that netstat version may or may not, might or might not fail, and we'll see the trace of that. This should work. And if do I have to comment anything else? No, nothing for now. So I will save this, rerun the test. And in this case, what we did is we had a container created from a existing container URL from a registry. Uh, Now we extended that container using another class from the pytest container plugin derived container. And the extension we have done there so far is nothing but just installing two packages there. So like I said, I was not sure what is the output of netstat version. That part failed, but curl version have some curl string in its output, so that one passed. Now it is giving us all the information why it failed. It's telling me uh, netstat version, this command was run, and this is the output we got, unrecognized option version. So there is no flag called version there. Okay. um, but our test ran and it told us, okay, netstat hyphen hyphen version, if you are writing that instruction in your Docker file, that will not work. Well, let's fix that super duper quick. And I still don't know whether what's going to be the output of that. But so while we run this, I can quickly move for time's sake to showcase a few more things. So the first thing I was just doing was trying to use curl because we installed curl. I'm just curling a HTTP bingo org get. This is a good interactive tutorial site for curl. I'm just checking whether I am able to access any external URL using curl. And here I am, for example, checking some headers. So we'll run those commands. But one of the things that I wanted to showcase is in this third command. So for example, we have to pass a few environment variables. We do it usually via podman run -e, name is equal to this, or port equals this, or URL equals this. So if we have to seed few environment variables, or any number of environment variables into our container for that is being tested here by pytest plugin, we can use this another field of derived container class called extra environment variable. And here it's a key value dictionary, so we can add with a comma as many environment variable here. So for this example sake, I'm just adding one pair of environment variable, name equals Alice, and we are using this HTTP bingo uh, URL to create a post request. And in this case, we are giving it a data. But in this case, the name is actually coming from the environment variable we set up there at the container creation level. So this should work if this environment variable is seeded successfully. And what it should become is name equals Alice. And that is what we are going to assert here. And if this failed, again with netstat, I will just remove that netstat command because I still don't know what's the netstat version output is. So let's do a clean run. This time we are checking whether the environment variable seeding actually happened or not. If it happens, then we'll be able to assert against our data whether because we are creating a post request with name equal Alice, whether the the data is actually captured in the headers of that post request or not. That is what we are checking here. This worked here, but if we have to check the entire run, let's um, maybe maybe I'll just say a typo in the name, because that we do not have a environment variable by that name. If I run that test against, it will give us the entire uh, trace of why the post request did not work. And the last thing, while we capture the failed output here, okay, here, so we gave it this curl command, curl data name equals, this environment variable was supposed to come from the environment variable we seeded, but here is a typo, so it did not really pick up the value coming from the environment variable, and we asserted against name equal Alice. There is no Alice coming from this environment variable, and it gave us the entire error output. So let's go back, which is actually correct. So if, for example, uh, somebody uh, creates an environment variable and say Bob here, but we for our application we need name equals Alice. For example, uh, this URL was for some authentication, and we do not want to give access to Bob, then this test was correct and it should have failed. So that is what we are checking here. The final thing um, I wanted to show was the port forwarding thing. So, for example, in this case, we do not have any application that requires 8080, but let's assume we were running Nginx. I installed Zipper install Nginx here. Okay, sorry, Zipper. I should have talked about it. Zipper is equivalent of apt install or yum install or DNF install, for example, on Red Hat or Ubuntu operating system. Zipper is the installed package manager for Tumbleweed or SUSE operating system. So we are just installing packages here. And if I was to, let's say, extend our container with Nginx, I would have given another package here, Nginx, and called it run Nginx server. And let's say we had to expose a environment there, sorry, a port there, 8080. So how I would do it is with this another section here, forwarded ports, and I will say two port forwarding. Here I can do as many. So again, like you can see, it's a list. If my application require more than one, uh, what I can do is like add a comma and do another port forwarding here. Um, let's say maybe 1313 for another service. So I can add this here, and the section here, give the port numbers here, and what it will do is it will try to find if there is 8080 available, but it will map it to any open uh, free port available, and we would be able to do at least mapping inside our container will still be 8080. On the host it could be mapped to any port, so we'll be able to send or access URLs on a specific port via inside our test pipelines. Another thing we can do here is volume mounts. I have to check the section for that. So we can also add volume mounts, or if, for example, like right now I don't know what is the command for volume mounts, we can just pass all the arguments that we usually pass to our podman commands or docker command here. Like I can just say uh, mm, -v for volume and mount maybe devices from my machine, so dev loop, for example. So I can give uh, the arguments, the flags here in the extra environment variables here, or actually no, it will not be environment variables. I think it's something like extra arguments. I have to check the documentation, but there are more fields here to add flags here or mount volumes here. So we can do everything that we usually do when we run one instance of a test with Podman or Docker or in any other container runtime. But here we can just codify it here and keep increasing this list of containers and keep adding as many defining tests, as many tests we need for our fleet. And what we will when we will run this poetry run pytest, in this case it will pick each of the container one by one and run all the tests. Maybe let's try. I will uh, just give it the unextended container as well, and let's see. So since the unextended container does not have all the packages, the parts of our test that are asserting against a few packages running would fail. But here at least we'll be able to see whether it is running tests against both of the containers in the list or not. um, I think that is what I had for the demo as well. While we, if anyone, I'll check the chat. uh, awesome. Yeah.
I have a question. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry for interrupting, Induguri.
Yep.
You are
No,
allowed to speak. Let me turn on
no,
the
no,
camera.
no, no. Actually, so I'm not about to speak. I think you can go ahead, Ivan. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. The question that I had with taking into consideration the previous talks and what I already know on the DevOps world, I was thinking maybe creating a step on a pipeline, or maybe this already has something in a marketplace, for example, GitHub Actions or other one, to integrate it and pair it with another solution like the first one that comes to mind is Sneak.io. That I don't know if it's well. Let me get to the point in order not to digress. So
Mhm.
what I was thinking is having a pipeline that will have a specific security slash testing steps, and maybe pairing this one with other tool like Sneak or Chekhov or the Kyverno was it, but that one was
Mhm.
for Kubernetes. I don't remember during these talks, these 9 days, there was a security focus talk. I don't remember the tool, but so maybe having
That was
like a whole
Kyverno, yeah.
pipeline, Kyverno there. So yeah, that was the question. If it can be paired like several steps, and one that maybe has a manual step could be like running the these files should be on the repository. I'm thinking now, but there could be a step that does this, and then another one with Kyverno, for example. Oh, and the question that I had: would this work for Kubernetes?
No, this will work for Podman
Okay.
pods for now. It will
Okay.
not work for Kubernetes. But like you mentioned, having pipelines or having a few predefined tests, like here I am defining tests that, let's say, I need for testing curl. But few tests like what if I have, let's say, 100 containers and I have to uh, test them in a pipeline, and each of those 100 containers I have to run at least a few things always. For example, checking the size of the uh, container, whether it's like allowed size. We are not going to be building the container which is above, or this container image which is above so and so size. We do that um, in this repository called SUSE BCI test. Here, like this is actually a more elaborate configuration of container in use right now. If I this also use other
No, it
py
has Linux. That's
uh,
great.
uh, yeah, so here, like these are some tests we have. For example, like checking against a few SLNX settings. um, we also, I think, have few tests to check whether like this BCI test repo is actually for testing our BCI images. BCI is like uh, stands for base container images, which is the equivalent of UBI in Red Hat word. So we have a lot of tests defined here in this folder test uh, against a lot of container images that we ship on registry.opensuse.org. And all of these tests have, for example, their own set of tests defined, but each of them, if I maybe we changed a lot of things recently. But here, like this is an example of pytest container in use in a uh, GitHub action way, like integration, for example. So here, like we have uh,
Yeah, like a lot of.
Python, yeah, like Python, for example, it's the same container image language container image is being tested against different flavors of operating system. 15.5 is one version of OpenSUSE, SUSE Enterprise Linux. 15.6 Tumbleweed is the open source one. So we are testing the same image against different operating system. I think we have also tests here where we are testing container images with different tags. For example, let's say in this case curl we took, if I have to test if I ship container images with different versions of curl, and I want to have uh, all my different versions of container images with curl, let's say 1.x, 2.x, 3.x tested, what I'll do is create different container images, make them available here in this list, and then this thing will run. This auto container will automatically pick. This is a fixture. This will automatically pick that it has to run all of this test. And I think I was showing since I added this time both containers, TW with package. So this in this case it failed, but it tells us where it failed. So it tried to run the test pytest container.py twice. Um, I think I hope there was so this can be improved here. It can also tell, like, I think this auto container 0 and auto container 1 is showing that this is testing two different images here, but it can be improved to show the different container image name here as well. But here, like, this is one example where the same test is run against two different images. But so far what we have right now, uh, uh, pytest container in use in a GitHub action or integrated in a testing pipeline is this. I can pass that feedback. Um, if maybe I'll have a chat with you offline. I will try to understand what exactly you are uh, feedbacking or
Sure.
suggesting, and
Yeah.
maybe I can pass that feedback to the creator of this tool, who is Dan Cheremak. Again, big shout out to him. Um,
I've just sent a message on the general chat with my LinkedIn profile. I was just, it wasn't a feature request actually, but it would be great. Now that you mention it, I was just trying to get the scope of the tool in order to know in which cases I could apply it.
mhm. uh,
Thank you for answering, by the way,
Thank
for the
you.
talk.
Thank you for asking. In fact, I also recently started using this tool when I was writing a few tests, developing a few containers and writing tests against them. One of those is this humongous container called postfix. Uh, this is one example of what we did in our small example, demo example. But this is in action in production where we have one version of postfix container, but postfix is a email client. And here, like, we are extending a lot because
Yeah.
we have to test different functionalities of postfix. So here we can see a lot of other things in action where um, we are passing variables, um, uh, maybe running tests against not the entire fleet, but I think specifically like running tests against one extended container here. So we have another markers here. There is also a way to, if we have, let's say, multiple tests defined in the fleet, uh, we can also conditionally run them. So that functionality comes more from pytest markers itself. But yeah, in pytest and pytest container running hand in hand, we can do a lot of things. And a lot of those examples, you can find them in this repository. Yeah. Okay. um that's all I had. I was going to end my presentation by pointing to this repo BCI test here. If somebody wants to use it, try testing one of their container images using pytest container. They can maybe look at the testing fleets we have already defined here, um, or if they want an example of how where pytest container is in use in a production in a more elaborate way, um, this is a good example of one of those projects.
Thank you. Thank you
And
so much, Priyanka, for this. Yeah.
I'll
Priyanka, thank you. That was a very good session.
and
Um, we
yeah.
were expecting a few more people to join, but today, as already said, today is the Shara. But I think the recording, it's the record. We still have the recording, so we'll be going ahead and posting it on the socials. But I think what I really loved about the session is since it's built from scratch, it regarding the functionality and all, people would actually love to learn more about it.
Um,
So yes, and thank you. Do we have any more
there is,
questions to
yeah, so
Priyanka?
there is one thing I would like to probably once, I think we have all the questions answered, right? So, yeah. So I just want to add like a closing note with this
Hmm.
Navratri series. So yeah, so like I should thank you people who helped me in this journey of last 10 days. We have been hosting 10 technical talks on 10 different CNCF areas of expertise with 10 women speakers. It wasn't that easy, but we are very happy to pull this off and to inspire more women into this community. So when Ram Iyengar reached out to me, so like, shall we do something with the Navaratri celebrations? And then I was like, yeah, we'll do it. And then I thought, like, let's do it with women in CNCF because this is kind of a right platform, because this the motto of the women in CNCF is to inspire women, and this is a feminine energy based, goddess Durga, 9 forms of that's where the Shakti is of women is leveraged. And I thought, like, let's do it together. And so yeah, Ram Iyengar helped me to create all these beautiful pictures, posters, and dealing with the speakers, giving them the details of when to join and all of that. And I should thank Ram Iyengar for helping me with this. And figuring out the speakers. Probably I should thank all the community itself, because I have reached out to them and ambassadors this channel as well as the CNCF Women Slack channel, and then I got a really great response. I think I found all the women speakers. It's a very quick, like, everyone choose their topics, and they're very cooperative, and their talks are like really, very much helpful to the audience as well. So, and handling social media is another big thing as well, because I had to create all the events in the CNCF platform, and I had to post about all these things. And again, like, before the event, after the event, it's a kind of, it's not that easy, but we were able to pull it off. And I should thank Malu. So actually, she is the sister of Ram Iyengar. she helped me, in hosting two of the days. So in the series, and Sankita, so she's also another team member of the Women in CNCF. She helped for 2 days, and today Amoga helped us to host. So it's a kind of collective efforts, and I will take help from Nancy as well to post all the recordings. So I should thank Nancy as well for this, and she has been busy with her college and handling things. And I should thank Priyanka for joining us on the celebration day, and giving us a lot of boost. So I hope to see you again, probably in Cubicon, India, right?
I would say thank you and thank you for. I actually did not prepare well for this one. I
Not.
could have done better, but I'm happy I was able to introduce the tool, because this is a tool I think that requires more love from the community. It's not well known to the community. Like I said, it's not in the cloud native space, but really helpful for people in the cloud native space, because we build container images day in day out. That is what cloud native is all about. So I have done talks on similar tools which are in the Kubernetes space specifically, but this was on those lines in the container runtime. Um, yeah. Anyway, the point was, I'm happy. I would love to come back again, maybe next time with a well planned, prepared conversation and talk. But thank you for doing this. For me, planning it on a Saturday was hard. I don't know how you all have done uh, for a week now. With
Yeah.
your work as well, with every other thing that you all are doing in the community. I like Amuga said, social media, promoting all this, not just organizing this, promoting all these sessions, making sure people, we like, you are not just organizing them but people join them also. um, it's a hard thing. I have done a bit of that with recently, with another event that's happening with KubeCon India. I'll give a can I talk about that, because we are actually struggling with
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Whoever is joining KubeCon India and is a member of the Kubernetes org, if you are not, and if you are contributing actively, just DM me. We can figure out how to make it happen. But the I want to talk about maintainer summit. So there is a specific special event. This is happening for the very first time in the CNCF space. There is a maintainer summit happening, which is for all the maintainers of CNCF landscape. It includes, for Kubernetes, it includes all org members, but I will put a link in the chat for eligibility of other CNCF projects. So
So
the
I think
I'll
it's only for maintenance, right? So who has been involved in the project, right?
uh,
I
so
guess.
involvement varies. You can be a contributor, you can be a maintainer, but maintainer definition really varies from project to project. Like a project might consider maintainer who is listed in, let's say, a file somewhere, but in other project, the definition of maintainers might be totally different. But also the eligibility varies from the graduated and the incubating project and so on. I have put a link in the chat. This is happening for the very first time. Um, we did not we did not have too much time to outreach about it a lot, because the way it is happening is uh, the Kubernetes Contributor Summit, which was a event that used to happen before KubeCon every time, I think for last 4 or 5 years now. That is being expanded to a bigger event to include not just maintainers of Kubernetes now, but includes maintainer from on the entire CNCF space, and which is now becoming Maintainer Summit. So this whole planning at CNCF level was happening while KubeCon India plannings were happening, and so a lot of hodgepodge is happening for the first time. We are learning a lot, but I thought we are here with a lot of people from APAC, or a lot of people who are interested in joining KubeCon India. Um, uh,
Yes, we do
Look
have. I
out for
think
that.
we do have a Discord channel. I believe there are quite few people who might be interested. So we'll
Yeah,
post about this in the channel. So if someone who's coming to KubeCon, even if they would like to meet you at the conference, they would actually love to.
I will be at KubeCon India as well. Specifically at Maintainer Summit, I am chairing that event. Although we are learning a lot, there will be a Maintainer Summit going forward for every KubeCon. I can talk about KubeCon EU and NA. KubeCon EU Maintainer Summit is already in plan, so look for that. If you are not joining KubeCon India and planning to join KubeCon EU, look for that event as well. Right now for KubeCon India, the registrations are open, so CFP is closed, but registrations are open, and uh, please check
So,
out. Yeah.
so if I don't think like if anyone is not maintainer, they are not eligible to join that, right? Am I
I
correct? I think
what I would
yes.
say is go through the eligibility table, because
I don't
it
like
changes some for maintainers. They might be like not be able to submit a CFP but register for the event. But if you have any doubt, I think that I can say please DM me. I will get back with information for you whether you are eligible or not, or what is the eligibility criteria, for example in your space of CNCF. Like let's say if you have a question about specific project in CNCF and you are not sure about the eligibility criteria, do give me a DM. I will get back to you after checking with CNCF what's the criteria. Again, we are really working hard on improving the eligibility criteria also, because CNCF is made of different kinds of project: incubating, graduating, graduated. um, the eligibility varies across all of those spaces, so it's hard to put a simpler version of that entire eligibility criteria on the website right away. But this was the first time and we are learning. We got a lot of feedback, so if you have more feedback, just pass that to us and we'll take
And I
it
think
further.
the reason
I think it's
it's a little special because it's the first time, it's the first KubeCon that's happening in India. So everybody, I think, are equally excited. I'm very sad I'm missing out on that.
uh,
uh
actually this will be my second Cubicon. I'm there in NEA Cubicon 2019. So I think after like, five almost 5 long years, right? So I've been into Cubicon again. So I'm very excited for this. Yeah.
I'm actually extremely excited because the lineup of talks we have for KubeCon India is amazing. So it's not just for people like who are going to be there in person, but somebody who is going to consume the talks later on. There's a lot of good content that's scheduled for KubeCon India.
Mhm.
Um, Amuga, if you are like still thinking, let us know. We'll see how we can help you. But if you are very far away, maybe that is again. I know KubeCon India timings. People are discussing about that because it's mostly approaching holidays, not just for people who celebrate holidays during that time, but
Mhm.
the entire IT space we work with holidays during that time. So that is a challenge, but um,
I mean,
what's
I'm
next?
just a flight away to Delhi, so it's not a big deal. I'm based out of Hyderabad. Even Bhavani is based out of Hyderabad, so we're just a flight away. But yeah, I think about it.
Yeah. I mean, there are ways to. So that is why
Yeah.
this is, yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Okay. Do we have anything? Ivan, do you have anything that you would like to share? No.
Yep.
Me? No, I'm good. I mean, thank you for the opportunity and thank you for all this. Danyavad, truly, sincerely, thank you. It was
Thank you.
great.
Thank
And I was writing a shout out to on LinkedIn for several people here. And that's it. I will
Bhavani.
start.
With
Not
Bhavani.
right now because I had other things to do right now. I was fixing a computer for a neighbor, but I will take a look in a bit deeper into pytest-container and the other one cube tests. I think it was called that you shared Priyanka.
Yeah, so look for cube test 2. There was a cube test as well before that.
Yeah, I
Since you
already
asked about
started.
Kubernetes, that cube test 2 is a tool that's actually used by upstream project for their end-to-end testing. Um,
Yeah, yeah. I would say thank you so
I think
much.
I think Ram, would you like to
Yeah.
add anything to the discussion? I believe you were actually the you were behind the scenes for all this event, and today's the last day. So, would you like to add anything to that?
Um,
Guess he's busy. I don't think Anushka, would you be able to speak? Okay, I think everybody's in the festive mode. So, okay,
yeah.
no worries.
I mean, yeah, we are at fault for bringing people today at 9 o'clock. I mean, this is the time when actually the Shara celebration happens. So,
Right.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, I think, yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for this. And
No, yeah, yeah. Thank you, Priyanka, for actually taking time out on a Saturday at 8 a.m.
No,
at
no.
8
I
p.m.
mean, I just did
to
my part. You all did a lot more than me, and I totally understand that. Technical is a different thing, but doing community work is a whole different level of
Mhm,
learning. I do that. I'm in the process of all that entire learning as part of the contribix. Um, as Kubernetes SIG contribix that is entirely based on making community healthier. Um,
mhm.
and before we wrap this up, I just want to say I learned about what's the name?
Women in
This
cloud
group,
native.
Women in Cloud Native, as part of this celebration, this Navratri
Mm.
series of talks, which is good, better late than never. And I joined the group now as part of because I was speaking. So
yeah,
I'm going to looking forward to actually follow and see what other opportunities there are in the group because I'm very interested to see what all you did, Amuga. You mentioned you had a lot of opportunities. I'm going to follow your journey and the journey of the group as well. And I'm
But
very happy, Ivan. Did you learn that Dhanyavad from this 9 days series or did you learn it from being in the group? I was very curious.
No, I actually joined the group during the first days when they pointed me out of, for example, Kubernetes and Kyverno groups on Slack. No, I mean, I know Kubernetes, but I didn't know about this pytest
It's
container I was
yeah, it's
doing
a
it right.
mouthful.
I didn't know about Kyverno. I didn't know about kubetest 2. And I'm looking forward to develop my career towards those technologies. And it was as I come from an infrastructure background, one of my points of improvement is learn a programming language because I mean I did some bash scripting in the past and things like that, but I was falling in love, to put it in a way, more and more with Python because of all the versatility it has and being cross-platform and all that. And I'll start with a course on LinkedIn Learning definitely, and start learning by doing about Python. And I also came across a university here. I'm from Argentina, but I'm based in Uruguay, by the way. Small introduction.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
and there's a university here that has a course that I never came across it. It's a short career. I don't know the actual translation of that to English. It's not a bachelor's degree. It's less amount of years, and it's what I've been looking for because this and what I do, you can learn it by doing courses, etc. But it's not on any university. I mean, DevOps as a career didn't exist because now it does. I mean, the usual way was, for example, you had to learn, I don't know, computer engineering or computing analyst, things like that, and then start digging deeper. So I think I will go for that one to have a degree other than the secondary school, high school degree, etc. And probably get certified in, I'm thinking AWS of the cloud providers as a choice. And then I don't know yet if CKA from Kubernetes or Terraform. I don't know which one to continue with, but yeah, in order to formal test my knowledge, I mean, because I can do some things at a job and complete tasks and this and that, but it's not the same as having the certification and sitting for the exam.
I think Ivan, you're in the right place because I think you were starting out with Python, right? So I've been a very active contributor in the Python community. Python community is huge. We do have a lot of conferences. I've been to one PyCon India last month in Bangalore, so it was huge. So you can you have people who are active Python users in this community, and for certifications, if you would like help, I'm also preparing for the AWS certification. So you can hit me up or Bhavani for the Kubernetes or Priyanka. There are a lot of people in the community, so I think
Uh,
you're in the right place.
So for CK,
Thank
I
you.
would suggest for like you can use a code cloud, Ivan. Like so, so that is very helpful for me to get certified as a CK. So take a subscription there in code cloud. So they have really good series like from Kubernetes beginners course and then CK, and you can have some mock test series. So that will help you to get past in CK. So I would suggest to go with Code Cloud to learn Kubernetes and get certified as a CK.
Cloud code or code cloud? Because I found two and they are different.
So it's a
One is from
code.
Brazil.
I'll share this link here. Code Cloud.
Yeah, please.
And also, Priyanka,
Because
I'm
one is
not an
from Brazil.
active
Oh,
KA.
with chaos in Kubernetes. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounded, yeah. Thank
No,
you.
no, yeah, yeah. Code Cloud. Yeah.
Sorry about that. Okay, so I'm not an active K8s user at my workplace, but I think I do have a lot of appreciation for the Kubernetes CNCF community, and I'm glad you actually you've joined the space, Women in Cloud Native. We do have a lot of amazing women in the community that you can connect with from across the globe, not just India. So I think our community is around 850 plus women right now. So you can
I
meet.
remember like so the day like when Nancy reached out like we should start a platform and Nancy was mentioning me will so how I mean like I'm not sure like how many people will join our community, so and then I was like telling Nancy like we'll do our thing, so let that count go on by its own. And so today like when I'm seeing like 850 people joining the community, it was really amazing actually. Yeah.
Good job, Bhavani. I think Bhavani and Nancy have started this initiative, and it has grown over the years. So this December will be our second anniversary for this community, and yeah, we can actually celebrate it in a good way,
Yeah,
in a huge way.
thank
I
you.
think
Yeah,
we,
go celebrate.
uh, I
Happy
want
Navaratri. How do I pronounce it?
you pronounce it
Navratri.
right. I
Right,
mean,
Navarat.
almost right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just saying before we close, great shout out and thank you to you, Amoga. You are doing a great job. I mean, we are if we are doing this streak of shout outs, you deserve a big one also. And
I mean, I'm just
thank you
able
for
to. I just tried helping Bhavani for this one day. I think she did all the work, but
No, no,
yeah,
no, but
I
you
take it.
you are there to help me as well, Amoga. Yeah. So
it.
I
It
would
just starts
say
with one day. Yeah.
yeah, if
Yeah.
everyone who is involved in this, like they deserve the best shout out because it's something that we're doing with passion to promote more women and to inspire them as well. Yeah.
And
Right.
I'm also I learned one more thing about you. You are involved in Python community. So I started my career with a lot of people in the Python community. Maybe you are aware of Kushal Das, maybe you're aware of Sayan, Nabarun, who are actually who Nabarun was the chair of PyCon India this time.
Mm-hmm.
Kushal Das was one of my mentors in the very early. I think 4 or 5 years back. He's the one of the directors of Python Software Foundation from India. That time now is in Sweden, but now I know another person from Python community, which is so great. And yes, there is a like very huge footprint of people from India in the Python space, holding a lot of great positions. So I'll see if I'll follow you there also. I joined PyCon for just one time in 2019. That was the first conference I ever attended, the best one. Um,
Hmm.
I never got to attend again because of just the sequence of conferences now. Uh, PyCon is happening, then PyCon happened, then now KubeCon and all other things are happening, and there's a lot of stuff that happens before the actual conference also. I think I need to dial down on conference and do
Yeah.
a lot more conferences outside Kubernetes as well.
Mhm.
I look forward
Just
to
to,
meeting
yeah.
you maybe at PyCon. Yeah.
Likewise, yes. Some other conference, not KubeCon, maybe. Yeah,
Yeah.
if I am, I'll let you know. But otherwise, I think even Python community, we do have Py ladies, just like Women
Hmm.
in Cloud Native. They're also, I've been very active contributor. So there we have around 8,000 women.
Yeah.
So it's a
Across the
huge
world, right?
across the world. So it's
Yeah.
a very huge community as well, Py ladies.
I
So
know
yeah.
Anvesha Das from there, uh, who was one of the, I think, organizers of Pi Ladies a few years back.
Mhm.
Yeah, she's in Red Hat now. Do you
Yeah.
know about her?
Not sure. There are a lot of